Talofa lava, everybody. This is Mani Malaiulu, and this is the Empowerment Show. This is the show where we bring you great people that are doing great work in their chosen profession or their community. We get their insight, their knowledge, and their wisdom to share with us for our own empowerment. And my guest today is Ivan Wong Kee. Now, he has been a chef in the past, owned businesses. He's worked in many years within youth development, initiating Pacifica student programs, parent programs within colleges and youth organizations. He is a father, a husband, a family man, currently a pastor, and also, alongside that, he is a real estate agent for Professionals Real Estate. Ivan, welcome to the show.
Mahalo lava lo sunga. Thank you so much for inviting me along. It's a pleasure to be here. And like I was saying before, I'm enjoying these podcasts you're putting out. The material's awesome. I've been getting some great empowerment. That one you did with Latu was awesome. Really loved it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We always appreciate that feedback. So thank you very much. I appreciate that you're getting some good value out of it. And I know people are going to get some good value out of this one as well. I had the pleasure of meeting you and discussing with you a little bit about your journey. I think it was about a couple of weeks ago or even a month ago.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. So I've got to say, I was really blown away. I was buzzing. Even a few days after that, I just keep thinking back to that conversation. There's just so many lessons. And I wanted to throw out a question to you. The first one here was, what made you choose to get into the real estate sales industry?
Yeah, well, I was kind of in working full-time at a Rice church at the time, and knew it was time for a change. And I was actually holidaying in the Hawke's Bay where I'm from Flaxmere. And one of my good friends who used to be part of our church down here moved up there, and he had just completed his first year in real estate, and he was doing really well, and he's still doing really well. His name's Caleb Robinson in the Hawke's Bay. And we had coffee, and we were just talking, and I was just telling him how I was in a time of a place of transition. And he just dropped the seed. He says, "Oh man, I don't know if you thought about real estate, but I reckon you'd be really good at it." So I went, "Oh, okay." So he planted the seed. I came back to Wellington after that holiday and met up with a good friend of mine and said to him, "Hey, look, I'm thinking, about real estate. What do you think?" And he goes, "Well, I've got a friend who runs a real estate agency. Why don't you have a talk to him?" So then I met with the boss at the Professionals, and to tell you the truth, I went into that meeting going, what's the hardest it gets in real estate? Because you kind of hear what other people say in regards to the benefits, but I thought, what's the hardest thing they can have? And he just talked about some of those cons, and when he talked about it, I went, no, I could do that. So then I just jumped in and had to do the papers, got those done in record time. It usually takes about 3 to 6 months to complete the papers. I was given 6 weeks paid leave when I left the church, so I set a goal. I need to get it done in 6 weeks, or else I'm not going to get paid. So I did it in 5.5.
Just like that, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been in real estate now, Ivan?
Yeah. So I've been in real estate 4.5 years.
Wow.
4.5 years. I kind of started back in February of 2016.
That's amazing. And it's probably worth mentioning that you are now within the top 5 to 10% real estate agents in terms of high performance real estate agents within your organization, not just within the region, but within the whole country. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah. No, we just had our national awards, and I was really fortunate to be awarded, in that top 5-10% for commission and number of sales. So that's coming up against, that's everyone. So that's people that have got teams of 15 people, teams that have got, 12, 10, and we just got a little tugboat, my wife and I, that tug along.
Hey.
And And yeah, so now we're very, we're very blessed with, we're really grateful that
Sure.
God's favor is on us.
Fantastic. And in saying that, what do you love about real estate? Like, what do you love about this profession that keeps you driven to succeed and perform at the level that you're performing at the moment?
Oh, there's so many things I love about this industry. I
Yeah.
think there's the fact that you're the master of your own dreams.
Mm.
No, I can, you know, I'm not dictated. Um, you can choose how much you work and how much you earn. I mean, it's always good to kind of have a limitless kind of, the only ceiling that's in this industry is the one you put on yourself. Um, so I like that freedom. I like that autonomy to go, you know what? If I'm not happy with where I'm at, I just got to go walk to the bathroom, look in the mirror and say, it's because of you. No one else. Because of you. That guy in the mirror, it's you. So you better change, learn, or do something. If you don't like what where you're at. So yeah, I like that. I like the fact that I'm not dictated. My life's not dictated because of all the decisions of other people. That I've got. I'm empowered to choose where, how high I go, and that's one awesome thing about real estate. And
Yeah.
I liken it to, you have team sport, but I did a lot of fighting when I was growing up, and
Yes.
it's a bit like a fighting sport.
Yeah.
When you could be training with all your team and your club, but once you're in the ring, it's you.
Can you talk to
And
us a little bit about your fighting background, even when you were a
yeah,
little young
yeah.
kid? Because I think that might be
Oh
worth
man.
mentioning as well.
So
That's, yeah,
my dad was a boxer, so
right.
it's deeply ingrained in our blood. As soon as we could walk, we were, I can remember, as soon as we could walk, we were punching his hands. He was putting his hands up, and we thought it
Nice.
was just something for fun, let alone not knowing that was what he had in mind. We were all going to be in the ring one day. And
Awesome.
so my younger brother, I've got three older sisters and a younger brother. And all of us, apart from my older sister, were in the fighting game and boxing and karate. So my dad grew up in Samoa. He's actually from a village called Salonga in Savai'i. And my mum's, she's from Letongo in Upolu. And yeah, so I got a real Chinese name. I'll come
Yeah.
back to the fighting, but I think it's important people know where the
Yeah.
Chinese name came
Yeah,
from.
absolutely.
Because you might think that I'm related to Bruce Lee or something. Yeah. Um, so people are calling me. So when I go like that, it's because people are trying to call me.
No, that's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. You're good, mate.
uh,
You're good.
so both of my grandfathers are full Chinese,
Yeah.
and both of my grandmothers are full Samoan. So during the First World War, a lot of the Chinese, a lot of people know, came on over to Samoa on 3 different boats, and they came over to work for the Germans that had a lot of land that they wanted to cultivate. And so they got the Chinese over because the Samoans didn't want to work for them. And that's how my 2 grandfathers came over to Samoa. So yes, I'm really proud of the fact that I've got that Chinese heritage.
That's cool.
I need to do more to kind of engage with that side of my culture. But so then my dad grew up. He had 14 brothers and sisters, and my mum had 7. So big family,
Huge
big
family.
family. And so my dad became a boxer real young, and then that kind of really kind of had its effect on us growing up. So as young as we know, we've been fighting. We were fighters, like as young as we know. And
Yeah.
then we joined karate when I was like 7. And my 2 older sisters and my younger brother, we all became black belts during that time. We were doing karate. And we were just always fighting.
Wow.
And learned a hard work ethic. And I think it's just spilt over into real estate and everything. It's probably one of those foundational things that God put, in us through my dad.
Yeah, sure.
My dad was such a hard worker, and didn't like it at the time. especially when your dad's knocking on your wall every morning at 5 o'clock, telling you to go for a run, and then following you in the car in the dark with the lights on. Yeah, you realize
Wow.
now that's not normal. That's not normal with this guy.
At the time, though, you're probably thinking, "Oh, well, this is just what we do," or were you thinking,
Yeah.
"Dad, you're crazy"?
Oh no! At the time, I was just like, okay, well, you know, every family does their own thing. This is what our family does. It's only when I left home and started telling people my story, they were like, "Bro, that's child abuse." And I didn't even tell them the hidings.
Yeah, keep that one. Yeah, keep that one in the back pocket until you see the reaction, eh? Oh, crazy! That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's
So
yeah.
all of us were did really well in karate. My younger brother and I represented New Zealand a couple of years in a row. We both went to the world champs. My younger brother, I think he placed 9th in the world in the black belt division for under 15s, and I placed 2nd in the world. We were put in the same division. So looking back now, you kind of like, man, I felt like I failed because I didn't get number 1.
Yeah.
But you kind of look back now
Training.
and go,
That's
oh
what you were
wow,
training for, right? You weren't training for number 2.
totally. And that was my dad's mindset.
Right.
Like, we were never allowed just to participate. If you were going to do something,
Yeah.
you're going to be the best at it. And so he had the saying in his Bobby accent: if you're going to do it right, you know. And he just and it was just his way of saying, you know, you're not going to be passive, you're not going to be apathetic. If you're going to do anything, you just got to strive to be the best. And I see that same drive in my brothers and sisters. They all kind of have that drive, just to kind of to just push. My sister, she's she's an auditor that audits. You know, she was auditing governments across the Pacific. She's done huge work. And then my younger brother, he's actually one of the trainers. He trains Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight champion. So and he was running a mixed martial arts gym. Like, he got a world title in jiu-jitsu back in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, so very driven. So my dad put that in us real early.
Yep.
He put that thing in us where if you want to be the best, you're going to do things you don't want to do. And that 5 o'clock bang on the wall, oh my Lord, I hated it.
Yeah, and it's not,
I hated it.
and it's not very common now. You know, it probably wasn't common then, but you know, it's not common now as well. You know,
Yeah.
it just embedding that kind of behavior in terms of doing things that that other people won't necessarily do to get to where it is that you want to go, or you can go. And I think your dad is probably, we know where his kids, where he wants his kids to go. You probably see a lot of potential in you too, right?
Yeah, and I think he just was very focused and just didn't take any excuses. Yeah, it was just old school. Just the way the way that he trained in boxing was pretty old school. He wasn't about dodging the punches.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
it was like he'll stand behind the bag, and if you drop your hands, man, you're on the ground. Man,
Wow.
he's like old school, you know.
Wow.
And he was like, man, you gotta learn to take the punch to give it, Ivan. You know.
Yep. And that's just flowed onto your profession now.
Totally.
In ways,
That drive has been in us ever since, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it kind of you got to tame it because it'll get you out of balance. Because there are other people in your life now. You can't just. It's not just you. It's not just you. You know. So sometimes you got to just tame it down and just make sure that other people are on board, the family are okay, and you've got other responsibilities.
Yeah, sure.
But when you turn it on, you turn it on.
So yeah, fair enough. You know when to turn it on, you know when to turn it off. And it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
been,
I found out there's a switch.
yeah. And you have to use it. Yeah.
You have to use it. You have to use the switch.
Yeah. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough also. And just knowing a bit about your background and just given what you've just shared with us right now, what would you say would be the biggest challenge or the biggest lesson that you've had that's probably had the most impact on your life or the career that you've had?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is always yourself. Like the next level that you want to get to is dependent on your own personal growth.
Mm.
And so if you're stuck, you'll find that a lot of times it's not other people. It's usually your own mindset, your own paradigm. There's something lacking in your worldview that's holding you back from getting to the next level. So I think the biggest challenge for me is being self-aware enough to recognize what those barriers are that are holding me back, and so those are honest conversations with yourself. That's about recognizing that you don't have it all together, and that there are other people doing what you want to do, and there's a gap. And the reason why they're doing it and you're not is that there's a gap in your knowledge and understanding and maybe in your character that's stopping you from getting there. So sometimes it's just walking back into that bathroom and looking in that mirror and saying, why aren't we there? Why aren't we there?
And was there something in particular when you went through that realization of self-awareness that you went, oh, this is what I'm falling short on?
Yeah. There's probably a couple of things. One, when I first coming out of high school and I went into chefing, when I hit 21, I that was probably the biggest realization that something wasn't working. I was an angry young man. I was full of anger, and a lot of that anger was toward my dad, because I had a lot of resentment because I felt like I didn't have a childhood because I was driven so hard on a pathway that I didn't choose. And so once I left home, that resentment started to grow, and it became a hindrance, because whenever you've got unforgiveness in your heart, you're always going to be limited. It's always going to limit you. And so learning to let go is one of the biggest lessons any person can learn, is to learn how to forgive and let go, because you're not just releasing the person that you've been offended at or hurt you. This is about releasing you. And so that was probably back in my early 20s, the first kind of major awareness challenge that I had to overcome was learn how to repair my relation with my dad. Right. And I remember getting to that place because, I became a Christian and I realized the power of forgiveness and how much it's easy to forgive when you realize how much you've been forgiven. And you're holding someone else accountable for what they've done wrong. And then you realize God puts up his mirror to you and realize, oh my gosh, he's forgiven me of so much more. So you realize, oh man, I should really just let go of their hurt, and their offense. So I remember ringing up my mom because I really need to call my dad, and I probably need to ask him for forgiveness for holding this anger for so long. So I remember ringing up my mum and dad, and mum answered the phone and said, hey mum, was dad there? He goes, yeah. Then dad on the phone, and I said, hey dad. He goes, and he was just like, hey, and he was probably, why does my son want to talk to me, Yeah. I was 21 years old. said, "Hey, Dad, I just wanted to talk to you. I need to ask for your forgiveness. I've been angry and bitter towards you for a long time, and there's a lot of things that I resented, and I was just opening up like this,
Yeah.
and poured my heart out, for a couple of minutes,
Nice.
and then stopped talking, and then it just went dead silent, and I was just like, whoa, this guy's not talking. And then after about, oh man, it felt like an eternity. Probably was like 2 minutes or 1 minute of silence.
Yeah.
My dad goes, "Here's your mum."
It
Gives
was
the phone over to my mum.
yeah.
3 days later, my mum calls me up, and she's like, she's got her angry voice on. She's like, "Ivan," and I'm like, "Oh shucks," when your mum calls you by your name in a certain way, and you feel like you're 5 years old again. That's what happened, and I'm just like, "Oh, what's going on?" She goes, "Hey, what did you say to your dad?" And I went, What do you mean? "Your dad's been crying for 3 days, and he won't tell me what's wrong. What did you say to your dad?" And I told her what happened. I said, I rang him up. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to ask for his forgiveness. And then, my mum's voice changes, goes, "Oh, you're a good boy." Then hangs up the phone. But even talking about now, it was probably a big turning point.
Yeah.
It was a big turning point because almost like I turned a page, I turned a corner, I'd stepped into a mature manhood. Yeah, I think that was a big turning point. So learning that God had forgiven me, and then repairing that relationship with my dad.
It's amazing that turning point came to you at such a young age, like 21.
Yeah. I see a lot of my friends, they're in their 40s and they still got that anger toward their dad, and that, and I'm like, wowza.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it starts with, well, the catalyst for me is once you realize how much you've been forgiven,
Yeah.
then it's
Nice.
easy to forgive others. If you don't know that you're being forgiven so much, then you can stand in your position and your seat of self-righteousness and not extend that same grace,
Absolutely.
So yes, so there, that one was a biggie. And then I suppose there are just on the journey, there's other things that you become self-aware of yourself, that things that are good, great, and some things are things that are not so good, and those are the things that you've got to work hard to change.
Yeah. Sure.
So sometimes it might be an attitude toward authority. Sometimes it might be, the fact that you don't aim high. Sometimes it might be a work ethic. Sometimes it's that you don't have a good scope of different friends to expose you to bigger things. I'm so blessed. I got so many different friends from so many different walks of life, and I'm just exposed to such a big world of people that have big worlds.
Yeah.
And it always challenges me that there's more, and you can go higher, and just because you're Pacific doesn't, there's no excuses,
Totally agree. 100%. And just talking about rubbing shoulders with different people from all walks of life, is there anything in particular, like a piece of advice that you have actually received from somebody that made you go, "Oh, that's really going to help me go where I need to go, or get to where I need to go within my career"? Is there any piece of advice
Yeah.
that you received?
Yeah, I think there's been kind of like many kind of those moments, and some of them are little nuggets, and it isn't until you look in hindsight you realize that how important some of those kind of moments were. One of the great things I love about my dad is that, even in his broken English, he had lots of friends of other cultures. He had Indian friends, he had Palangi friends, he had Chinese friends, and he was just always able to cross other cultures. And so, I feel like that's one awesome thing that I've had because of him. through high school. I didn't just stick with my PI boys. I just had all these other friends of other cultures. And that's just been a mark of how I've lived life ever since. And I really love the fact that in every culture there's gold, and there's perceptions and mindsets that every culture has, and people of different professions have that, man, that are just really key. I mean, for instance, I have a Palangi friend, and he's very successful. And he's very successful in the business world. And every time I'm around him, he drops things, and then I see how big his world is. And like recently, what did he say recently? We're working on a project together, and we're working on how to take this product that we're developing in this company to the next level. And he just talked about how he recognized there was a gap in the matrix of the organization, of the organization. And he talked about how we can invest more money to hire someone to come in, or we could bring that skill into our fold as a shareholder, and that will take the business to another level, because then we've got those expertise right at our doorstep instead of paying for it every time we need it.
Right.
And just a little thing like that, I realized, wow, I would have just thought about just employing someone with the skills instead of actually bringing someone into the team with those skills to take the whole thing to another level. And obviously he's done that before, but yeah, that's just an example of just one thing that's happened recently. And I was just like, wow, that's great thinking.
And you just never know where it's going to come from sometimes, right?
No, I mean, my pastors always dropped bombs. My first pastor, he talked to me about manhood. He talked to me about being a husband. He talked to me about, spiritual authority, and they've been so key in my development and my journey. Talked about Ivan. There are three roles as a husband. You're called to protect your family, provide for your family, and bring purpose to your family. And so I've always had those 3 P's in the back of my mind, that if I ever wonder what my job is in my family, I'll go, well, am I protecting them spiritually, emotionally, physically? Am I providing for them physically, emotionally, spiritually? Am I giving them purpose? Am I showing them a pathway on which to head? Am I showing them the values that I really believe in? So yeah, so those are kind of like the 3 things that one of my pastors, when I realized, man, they've been lifeline for me.
That's amazing.
I've just, yeah. So it's kind of like, am I the perfect husband? Well, talk to my wife, she'll give you the answer straight away. She'll say no. But hopefully I've got the railway tracks to keep on going.
Yes.
I've got my little checklist.
Yes.
And on that checklist, I've just got to keep on making sure that I'm delivering on those 3 things.
And how do you deliver on that? And is there anything that you do to keep your family together? Because from what you've spoken about, and also meeting with you and your wife being very, very busy people.
Yeah.
And this day and age, with families coming through and their parents being just very, very busy, is there anything that you do to just hold it all together?
Yeah, we have family meetings whenever we feel like there's angst or tension. We go, okay, we're calling a family meeting. We're all in the sitting room, and we give everybody the platform to kind of have a gripe session, have a voice. It's where we get to kind of install our values again. I think also that, when we talk about like building a business or like being busy, like we bring the kids on board, because like we sacrifice together. Like when I'm out there late at night closing a deal, like I'm not the only one sacrificing, they're sacrificing. So the whole family's sacrificing for us to win. So but the thing is that we all win together as well. So there are things and benefits that we get from all of us sacrificing. So we all win as well. I think the kids get angst when they feel like, well, we're sacrificing, but there's no wins here for us as a family. And I think that's where the angst comes. But, hopefully my kids know that, there are seasons where we work really hard and it's really busy. But they know that at the end, everybody's winning. They're getting opportunities that they'll never have. They're getting doorways, and they're able to do things that they'll never be able to do if dad wasn't sacrificing out there and winning, or mum wasn't working hard. Obviously, the other thing we do is like we try to work from home a lot, because our business is paperless, mostly paperless. It's all on the iPad and on the phone, so we can literally work anywhere. So being at home, being present, even though being on the table or in the sitting room, and we don't have to go sit in an office away from home. So that also helps. And then it also just helps that whenever we can, just have those dinner meals together, get that bond going. But yeah, that's kind of like how we roll.
That's great. I love how you're saying that you get your kids involved as well, so they understand the purpose that you've mentioned, one of those 3 Ps, but they also understand why you're out doing those deals at times when maybe other kids are actually seeing their parents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're doing things, again, that you need to do to move you forward in your family purpose.
And I've really been involved in our kids' sports. So I coached my older boys' rugby team for maybe 6 years in a row. And my younger boy, I coached his rugby teams for about 4 years in a row. And my daughter were really involved in her sport. And she was doing netball and basketball. So those there are kind of key moments that you build your business around so that you make it happen. And that's where we've got to, as parents, we make the sacrifice. There are times where your kids have to make the sacrifice, but there are times where we have to make the sacrifice. And we make sacrifice of being present at those moments, because they're key moments of their development, they're key moments of their validation and their encouragement, to show that, that you really support what they're doing, and just taking an interest. Yeah.
That's so good also. Very, very cool. And I just wanted to ask you, through the career that you've had, and through all the work experience that you've gone through, what advice do you give, or can you give, to somebody who is wanting to pursue big things, like big goals in their career? What advice can you give to them?
That's
Big
an awesome
yourself.
question. It's an awesome question, and I suppose because of my journey and because of my walk of faith, the first thing I would say is that if you really want to know your purpose in life, you got to return to the person that created you. And God created you. You didn't choose your family. You didn't choose your race. You didn't choose your ethnicity, the country. God chose that. And God chose that because He's got a purpose over your life.
Sure.
And and so the first thing I would say is, discover a relationship with God. It's not what church you go to; it's about the connection you have with Him. And I truly believe that that's been the key catalyst for me finding that pathway, that peace. And then you can bring everything of who you are because to the table, because God created that. And it's a bit like, you don't go and try and use a comb as a screwdriver. You're not using it for the right purposes to comb your hair. But if you had a comb and you didn't know what it was and you didn't know what it was used for, well, you've got to go back and ask the person that created it, saying, what's this used for? And I feel like people that are fumbling through life and are trying to live to the expectations of society or other people, but they don't know why, what's their personal purpose. And you're such a unique individual, that you got to go back to the person who created you. So I feel like that's kind of like the cornerstone
Amen, brother.
of any individual's life is your return back to your creator, your father. And then from there, I think sky's the limits. I think once you discover who you are, that identity, you realize that everything about you has a purpose, and then you can be everything you can be. And just the way you think, the way you were created, your lens in which you look at the world, the trials that you've been through, the people that you're connected to, you realize that, wow, this all has a purpose. And so I'm so grateful to the Lord that while I was out doing my own thing, he reached out to me, and I'm so grateful. So that's probably my life story, my life message.
Yeah.
Is because there's a difference between being successful and being fruitful.
Well, explain.
And
Please.
I think when you look on Instagram, there's a lot of people that are selling you the dream of being successful, having the best car, having the house, and having the influence and all of that. And we know that everyone have heard that, celebrities and everyone else saying, oh, money doesn't give you happiness. Money doesn't, the stuff doesn't make you happy. And it's because they've got success, but they don't have fruitfulness. Fruitfulness is when you're connected to your creator and you realize that life is about what you give, not what you get. And so for me at 21, that was my shift. I realized that once you meet God, life was about what you give, not about what you get. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't get the nice house and the car and stuff, but they all become tools of what you can give in life. Because you can't take any of that when you leave this world. The only thing that's left, is the memories and the love in the hearts of the people that you impacted. That's the legacy you leave. And the only thing you can take to heaven are the souls of the people that you influence to connect with their creator. And so for me, you got to keep the main thing.
Yeah.
Like I it's great to achieve and show your kids to follow their dreams, but let it be built on the foundation that there's a creator that created you for a purpose, and he loves you, and he wants you to have an impact in this world.
So how, Ivan, that's beautiful, man. How does somebody deal with having gone back to the creator, building a relationship, then all of a sudden they start to see the bigger picture for themselves, which is fantastic. Then they start to pursue those goals and those dreams without this angst that they've been carrying. How do they deal with the hate or the haters that will come along the way? How have you dealt with that, knowing that but you've been 21, but you've come a long way? Has that been a struggle for you, or have you been able to?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as soon as I got saved back in 1997, I knew straight away that my circle of friends needed to change. All of the kind of the guys that just party and drug it up and I just knew that was going to help my relationship with Jesus. So. I didn't disconnect with them. I just knew that there was a circle of friends that I needed to pull in to help me on this journey.
Sure.
And so that was kind of like, I think the thing is that the people that you have in your world, they're there for a purpose as well, in the sense that, you could be the catalyst of change for them. So you cutting off relationships is not going to be a good witness to them.
Sure.
And so it's about kind of like bringing into that inner circle, because usually you have maybe 3 or 4 guys in that inner circle that really small, do. It's a small, and as the years go on, you realize far out, it actually takes a lot of relationship building to bring someone into that inner circle. And so once you find a great friend, you need to really keep on investing in it, because it takes a lot of work to have those people in that inner circle.
Yeah.
And even Jesus, he had his 12 boys, but he had 3 that were in his inner circle. So that inner circle is really important. Know that, for me, being Pacific Islander, growing up in the Methodist Church, my wife with, in the Catholic Church, when I got saved, I went back and talked to my family. I was so excited to tell them I'd started this relationship with God, and obviously they didn't understand that change. So that was quite a tumultuous time, trying to work that out with my family. There were times during it where culture clashed with my journey of faith. There were things within my culture where I had to say no to in order to move forward, and that didn't go down too well.
Sure.
So myself being the oldest boy and my wife being the oldest girl, there were obviously responsibilities that were required of us for our family. And there were times we were disowned. There was a time we were disowned from both sides of our family for 2 years.
Wow.
And that
Really?
was a big thing. Oh, our parents didn't talk to us. Like, there was real strain. But we had to bust through that, because we knew that there are things culturally that weren't aligning with our new journey of faith in the Bible. And we had to stand strong on some of those things. And then as the years went on, they became less, and the relationships repaired. I was able to lead my father to the Lord before he died. That was probably one of the most beautiful moments in the hospital. But yeah, no, it's just been amazing journey,
That's
and
awesome.
just so grateful. But yeah, no, the thing is, once you start a relationship with God, you start a battle, and it's
Yeah.
not going to be easy. Yeah, there's a spiritual battle over you. There's a relational battle. There's a cultural battle. There's you enter into a battle where you've got to navigate through now this newfound identity, this newfound purpose, and there's going to be resistance. And I've been on that journey 23 years now. Worked in churches that whole time. Went to Bible college, did an internship, and just know that this is me now. My relationship with God's the most important thing. So it is
Still
the key
going.
cornerstone. Still going, man.
Still
Still
going,
got that
man.
fire.
Yeah.
Still got that
Still
fire,
got that drive, mate.
Still got
Hey?
that drive. Still pushing the boundary of kind of, just not being apathetic about that, even that relationship, trying to, constantly learn more about God, and in turn, learning more about who we are,
Beautiful. Ivan, what does empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment means to me is that you feel bold and confident to bring your whole self to every room. When I walk into a room, I have this mindset, and a lot of people might think this is arrogant, but I want to explain it because it is rooted in my relationship with God. When I walk into a room, I have this mindset that this room or this conversation is better because I'm in it.
Okay.
Wherever
Cool.
I go,
You're right, that is bold.
It is bold.
Yeah.
Whether it's an appraisal, whether it's a conversation in the shop, whether it's in a church, or whether I'm preaching, and I have this firm belief at the back of my psyche that says this room or this conversation is better because I'm in it. Why is it better? Because I'm in it. Because I'm going to be a blessing wherever I go, and people are going to benefit from everything of who I am. They're going to benefit from my culture. They're going to benefit from my worldview. They're going to benefit from all my trials and my lessons that I've learned. the valleys I've been in. They're gonna benefit from all the battles I've battled and got victory over. They're gonna battle from all the education and formal education that I had. They're gonna benefit from the fact of the things that I've had to change. They're gonna benefit from my resource. People are gonna benefit because I'm gonna bring my whole self to the table. For me, that's true empowerment. For me, that's about other people might not receive you by your whole self, but you bring your whole self to the table. And when you feel empowered that way, then the world's your oyster. There's nothing you can't achieve. There's nothing that God will not open up for you. And so when you go for an interview, they ask you about your education, your work history,
Yes.
and your skills. But you need to know that you bring more to the table than your CV. You bring your values.
Amen,
you bring your culture. You bring your love. You bring your passion. You bring your fire. Like, and you've got to start to believe that you're more than what a piece of paper says. And empowerment for me is like, man, you've got to see there's more in you than what other people see, because you're only going to achieve at their expectation. You've got to have a higher a picture of your own identity than anyone else in this world, or else you're only going to live to the ceiling of other people.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
So for me, that's empowerment, brother.
It's awesome. That's probably one of the best answers I've had. But it makes sense. I go back to the first, that first time that I sat down with you. I met you obviously at the St. Patrick's College Pacifica graduation, and you had a big hand in developing that. But then obviously I sat down with you, and it was just this energy. It was just the energy that was going back and forth between you and I. I came home and I was just talking to my wife about it. And now, I'll be honest with you, I've been burnt in the past. So I was looking at the story and I was going, oh man, this is different. There's something about this. It's just different. This energy is just different. And I don't know if you remember, but I was telling my wife, man, we were even talking about God and our positions with God. And the cafe was full. We didn't even, so it was like, it was just me and you in there. I was looking around going, afterwards, I was going, oh, wow, there's actually people still in here.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So when you're talking about the empowerment there and what that means to you, that totally resonates with just the few interactions that I've had with you. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I appreciate
Awesome,
you,
bro.
man. I appreciate you being so open as well about your story.
Awesome. Yeah, I really want young Pacific Island teenagers, young adults to feel that same sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of them see their culture or see parts of themselves as a burden or a hindrance to their success, to their development. And my message is the total opposite. Who God's made you is the very thing that's going to make you go further.
Yeah. It's surrendering to it.
Totally.
Surrendering to that. Yeah. And just
totally
letting that flow and guide you, eh?
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Yep.
Ivan, that's pretty much us, man. I don't want to keep you too long.
Awesome, bro.
I don't want to keep you too long. Like I said before, I could probably talk to you all day about this kind of stuff.
Right. I really appreciate the work you're doing. You know what I love about what you're doing is you're actually getting the real stories, and you're lifting the bonnet on Pacific achievement. And a lot of people look at our Pacific achievement and they don't realize that it comes from a different place.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate you putting these stories out there, because it's empowering others to say, oh man, I can actually be who I am and still reach the levels that I want to reach. And so I think what you're doing is so important, and I just appreciate you, bro. I just encourage you to just keep on doing what you're doing, brother, because man, you're I think you'll realize even over these coming weeks and years, next year, that there's a lot of people tuning in, and I think that their hearts melting at the conversations because they realize, man, nobody's putting these conversations on the table.
Yeah.
Because the forums in which these conversations happen are always through a lens that is very limiting, or that we're not allowed to talk about the other things of our culture. Just talk about the things that that fit in our Palangi culture or our system.
Yeah.
And so what I love about this, I can talk about everything of who I am.
Yes,
And not
absolutely.
leave it. And so yeah, bro, I love it. You keep up the good work.
Thank you, so thank you so much for your support and all your kind words and your encouragement. Yeah, yeah, it's been a hard road. So just to be self-aware and just to have the courage to actually do this, it's people don't really know. So I appreciate it, and no doubt this is probably the beginning of something special in terms of our relationship. No doubt
Yeah.
I'm going to be knocking on your door or giving you a call, and I appreciate you just even answering back and just answering the call. Sometimes that doesn't happen also, you know what I mean? So so yeah, thank you. I will keep going. There's
Yeah.
as you say, there's a purpose. God's put us in positions of purpose and influence to use it for His work.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this
Yeah.
to you before, is God's work. So it's that's what it's about, and getting these stories out there and showing a different perspective of especially our Pacifica men, that we're not just rugby players. We're not we're not just league
Yeah.
players. Nothing against that. We love those sports, love the combat
Yeah.
sport as well. But there's just so much more to us, and we bring
Totally.
our true,
Totally.
authentic self.
Totally.
It's just even better.
I believe that Pacific leadership is like a sleeping giant that is yet to be awoken
Oh, that's a
in our
beautiful way of
country.
putting it. It's a beautiful
And
way
I've
of putting
said
it.
this to our church. I've said there's no one's learned how to wake the sleeping giant of Pacific leadership, because for
Wow.
us, leadership isn't about a position. It's about a mantle,
Yeah.
and it's about a mantle that serves others. And for me, the world hasn't seen what our Pacific people can do on the world stage yet. It's
Mm,
about to break open. And when we talk about what you're doing, I feel like you're part of that awakening. I think what you're doing is you're awakening people, saying, guys, there's so much more. We're actually, there's so much more of what we're about than the boxes that we've been put in. Come on, let's break out of this. So yeah, for me, I feel such an affinity to what you're doing, because I feel like I look around our society and I look at the potential, and we've always used that word when we talk about Pacific. We've always just talked about potential, and I was like, man, when are we going to stop talking about potential and actually start seeing people rise?
yeah. The real power.
And yeah,
Yeah.
go from potential to power, bro. Like,
Yes.
where are we going to see this? When are we going to see the first Pacific Island Prime Minister? When are we going to
Mm,
see, the first Pacific billionaire in New Zealand? Like, when are we going to see I believe the best preachers in New Zealand are Pacific, and the best, because of the way that we are with our community. So yeah, for me, let's waken the giant, bro.
yeah, let's do it also. That's awesome. Totally agree and resonate with you, man.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
this has been an absolute pleasure. I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, bro.
We'll
Bless you.
connect again, I'm sure, shortly. Whawhataia te love everybody for watching this. I hope you got, or actually, I know you got some good stuff out of this. Please watch it again if you have to, because I certainly did. This is Mani Malaiulu and Ivan Wong Kee on The Empowerment Show. Thank you, Whawhataia lava, for tuning in.
Bless you.